So there was a little bit of, generational distance there, not a ton, but a little bit. But the same thing. So even though there was, some indirection there, the influence was of hearing the stories, right? Of, this is where we came from, this is what it was like, and this is why we did this, and here's the opportunity. And so even a generation or two removed, it seems that there's this, kind of intergenerational fuel and motivation to kind of to really leverage, I guess, the freedom and the options that are available, right? I guess that's the underlying trend. So that's really interesting that that's a part of your background as well. Yeah, and so more recently, speaking of creating options and kind of finding different paths. More recently, you guys moved to Costa Rica, right?
We did, yes. Yes, we live in Guanacaste in what I like to call the Greater Tamarindo area, the GTA.
Okay.
Yeah, we live in a little city called Brasilito.
Very nice. I mean, that's something that I would say a huge percentage of the population thinks about. Like, I mean, that type of thing, not Costa Rica specifically, but moving, to a place like that. Something that a huge percent of the population would kind of dream about, but very few would actually pull the trigger. Like, how did that become something that you guys, solidified and then went ahead and logistically pulled it off? How did that go?
And that's, I love how you asked that question, Chris, because there is two parts to it. There's the logistic and financial part, and then there's the emotional part.
Right.
So to answer your question from the emotional part, Paul and I, we've wanted to move somewhere hot, since the beginning. And he doesn't do well in the cold in Canada. Since I met him, his dream was to move to California, actually. And we tried doing that, and that didn't. And it's surprisingly hard for Canadians to immigrate to the United States. Then things changed on the political front in the U.S., and we decided maybe we'll cool down on that. We came to visit Costa Rica for the first time in 2017, and we fell in love with it. And we decided, okay, this is where we're going to retire. And so we were thinking, are we going to go live in California and finish our working years and then go to Costa Rica and retire? So it was kind of a jumble in our heads at that time. I do a lot of spiritual work, and I do a lot of active what people call law of attraction, or intending, like intentional energy output, whatever you want to call it. And there are lots of different activities that I've learned that can solidify dreams and intentions into the physical world. Conversation for another day. But in my journal, I was doing a lot of journaling and a lot of activities that reflected my desire to live in someplace hot, a paradise with, close to the ocean, and, all of my specifics were in there. So I was doing that over and over and over again, and really solidifying that in my subconscious. And then one day in 2019, it was June 2019, and Paul came home and he said, because he worked in Toronto, he took the GO train. I, at that point I had my business. I was working from home in Oshawa, and he was just exhausted. Like, he had really reached his end, and he came home and he said, Tasha, I can't take this anymore. We have to make a big change. Let's go to Costa Rica now.
Right.
And I said, no, are you crazy? Like, I'm not ready for that. Right. But then I gave myself, it took about a week. And then I thought to myself, Natasha, like, this is what I wanted. This is what I've been journaling about. This is what I've been working towards. This is it. And so I said, okay, let's do it. And we decided we'll plan for 1 year and we'll move in June 2020. Obviously, there was a pandemic, but the country was shut down. But we did get here in October 2020.
Right.
And so that was the high level of how we came here. And then on the logistical financial side, actually, one more very important point before I move on is that it takes a lot of courage. and a lot of bravery to leave what you know behind and to
Mhm.
go somewhere hoping for a better life, and not knowing anyone there, not knowing the language, not knowing how business works, how anything works,
Yeah.
and taking that risk for something better.
Yeah.
And I have worked and I have spoken to countless investors who are interested in coming to Costa Rica. And Chris, the biggest factor holding them back is not money,
Right.
but it's courage,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
scary.